It doesn't say that we're live, but I believe we are live.
Okay. Okay, call the meeting to order. And approval of our agenda. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add to the agenda today? That- Obviously, we run pretty informally, but if somebody had something specific, so. If there's nothing there, then we'll go ahead and start with the new business and the budget overview. Who's walking through the budget overview with us?
Mine's part of the full thing, so.
Okay.
I pulled that.
Is Brent getting on here?
I have that part in here.
Okay,
You just get me. Sorry.
okay,
I'm
all right. Was, I
I
thought,
don't know if Baker Tilly had anything more to add in budget or,
okay, so that's all part of this?
Yep,
That's what you're saying?
yep,
Oh,
yep.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I think all of this
That- yep.
is in there, so.
so,
Yeah, I think, go ahead and take it away, Nicole, thank you.
okay. All right. Nicole Allen, I met a few of you guys the last time, so I didn't meet you then. Hi. This is Breck Henderson, he's my sidekick, my right-hand man. So, we're gonna go through, on the agenda page, page 2, we got budget overview, bid results, financial summary, discuss the alternates, and then just a brief construction update if you guys have any questions, so forth, so. Page 3, budget overview. So the top part is pre-referendum, so referendum bond was the $39,950,000. LTFM bond was $1,500,990. LTFM fund balance was $120,000. City contribution, $707,050. And the district fund capital ESSER, so forth, is $866,245.
Okay, so our plan that we put together, our construction, all of our scope of work was based on 43,144, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, just wanna make sure.
Yep,
That's our budget, that's what we
That-
gotta track.
that was, yes.
No, that
Now-
is.
Now, just wait.
Okay,
That's what I'm gonna go into. So with the bond proceeds, we're at $44,117,405. No LTFM usage. The city contribution is actually $742,403. The estimated reinvestment earnings is 2.2 million. And then the anticipated utility incentives are 100,000 and no district funds so far.
Can I ask?
Yep.
So, why did the city contribution go up?
Because of interest.
Okay.
Interest on it.
Okay, strictly because of that.
Yep, interest
Okay.
or inflation.
Okay.
I wrote down inflation, but I believe it's interest on it.
Okay.
And that interest, is that, do we have to pay any of that back to the state?
That I do not know, actually. I can get an answer on that. I don't know if Baker Tilly knows that.
Yeah, Ryan, do you want to address that a little bit, the arbitrage?
So, we're talking about the reinvestment earnings, correct?
Yes.
The interest earnings?
Yes.
So what this is a conservative estimate. You're most likely gonna earn more than this, but it's a conservative estimate that you shouldn't have to pay rebate on this level. If we get north of 2.4 million, that's when we're probably gonna start seeing a rebate that is supposed to be paid back to the IRS. So again, if you do owe that, it's nothing that you've done wrong. It's just that you've earned more than what you're legally allowed to do. So what will be required is, as we move along, because it's determined upon the timing in which you draw the funds down. Okay, so that's a calculation that has to be done. So we'll know and monitor that and know what potential liability there could be. But the 2.2 million should be not needed to be repaid back.
Do we have anybody online watching?
I do not know.
Okay. Just to reiterate that, if anyone doesn't remember, or if someone is online watching, we're not allowed to make money on our interest on our referendum bond. Am I explaining that correct? So if we're paying 4% and we receive 6%, we can only keep 4, we'd have to pay the other 2% back.
With some, yes, in the big picture, yeah.
Okay.
But
Some of it we
back-
can keep if it's invested in mutual funds, or, yeah.
But
or,
back to the, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, that's correct. So there are exceptions to that. It depends on what you're invested in too. There is a small portion, I believe, that is invested in municipal bonds.
Municipal, that's what I meant to
Those
say.
are, yeah, those are outside the calculation. But again, what you're trying to do is maximize your earnings, right? So to get the most that you can, and if there is a liability, that just means that you maximize the amount of investments that you were able to get. And we just want to make sure that we set an amount aside for any potential liability as we do those calculations.
And then just to be clear, the city contribution is only for their half of the pool construction. Okay, that's correct?
Yes.
Okay,
And I have one other question when you're done.
I'm done.
Okay, the district funds, capital ESSER, et cetera, being we don't need to spend those, does the district still have those dollars, or have they been exhausted on other projects?
We haven't used any of
No, we've spent the ESSER funds now.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
But a
that's
lot
why
of that
it's
was
at-
used to do things like buy furniture
Okay,
for
so
the
that's why it went-
project.
That's why it's at zero.
Well, and the timeline of the ESSER had to be spent a while back too, correct?
Yes, yep.
So back to my, go ahead, I'm sorry if you're
I
done.
was just gonna say, so when it originally said district funds, we were combining ESSER and capital. ESSER's been spent, capital is just no longer needed.
The vast majority of that was ESSER.
Okay, thank you.
And I would say all of it was, but I'm not positive on that, so.
Okay.
So, but back to my initial statement, if I understand this correctly, our budget for the project, when we got after referendum, was set at the 43.1. That's what our scope of supply was bid at. That's what's going on. We now have $47 million to pay for that $43 million project, which gives us more room for overruns and things like that that they should occur, correct? We're not automatically taking our project to 47 million, right?
That's what we're here to
That's
discuss.
what we're gonna talk
is-
about here.
Okay,
Because of the alternates.
But yes.
The options
exactly,
that we
yes,
all wanted
have
included
added
that.
on.
yep, okay, well, I just want to make sure that's where we're at, but the 43 is what we went out to that our public approved, and now with everything that's going on, we got 47 to pay for it. Technically, if we build the scope that was in our,
Right.
that we build the scope that went out for referendum.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
So just a couple things, I know a few of you changed pages, which is totally fine. So what we are doing is working out the 47.1 million right now. And we're gonna discuss like what we can do with this in the next couple pages. And I just wanna base this also that the Nexus fees are based on the 45.6 million. We're not charging you more or anything for this added dollar amount. So I just wanna make sure that's clear as well. Cause I know that's kinda came up before. So the next page, this does not impact taxes, like they're not going up or anything like that. As you can see, the referendum communications were the top line, where the average home is gonna be 199 yearly. The actual impact will be at 159 yearly, or $13.25 a month.
And was that mainly because our interest rate was better than we expected? Was that the largest portion?
Yes,
Okay.
No, this is Ryan. Let me add to that. This is Ryan Fetters with Baker Tilly. So really what happened, what the real impact is on the tax bills is the net tax capacity increased dramatically once the actual 2024 came out with the tax bills. So it increased by about 30% or so. So that's what really drove the decrease. So the tax calculator used about 4% for the coupons, what we were using, and we actually got a little higher than that on the coupons. But overall, when we take into account the fact that you got that extra money that you don't have to pay back, you issued as a district the $39,950,000. That's what has to be paid back in principal and the interest on that. The extra roughly 4.3 million of net cash, when we see that amount that Nicole was talking about, the 44 million, that additional above the 39.9, that is cash that was brought to the transaction that is not repaid. Okay, so but to the point of this, of why the impact is, $159 on median home value per year. It's entirely because of the net tax capacity of the district rising about 30%. So it lowers that impact.
Got it.
Now bid results. So we had our first opening on September 10th. We met on the 23rd, and that's where we awarded to 26 of the work scopes at that board meeting. We recommended at that board meeting to rebid 4 work scopes. That was the masonry, the roofing, metal panels, and electrical. That rebid opened on October 29th. So the total recommended dollar amount from those 4 work scopes that I just mentioned is gonna be $7,154,332. That includes some added allowances. Those added allowances are for the, we switched some of the masonry walls to drywall walls, so that number went up, masonry went down, kind of thing. And then it also includes an allowance for the garland roofs that we have that are under warranty. There's roof penetrations that need to happen, so we put an allowance in there to go through the garland rep, so it doesn't void your guys' warranty.
Okay.
So that's what that $354,000 is for. So this rebid resulted in a cost reduction of $1 million roughly. So it was a good rebid.
So why did you rebid it? What was the changed?
So I'm trying to think about, I think it was 2 of them only got 1 bid. That's it. So we felt that those were over budget. We wanted to put them out to bid to get more people to bid it, and then we can validate our numbers, which
And you
that's-
did get more
Yep.
people to bid it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think everyone had, I think all of them had 3 bidders. Some of them had more. Then the electrical one, that number was, a lot of people put it in wrong, so technically we would have had to void your lowest one, your second lowest one, and go with the 3rd person. So we knew there was opportunities there, and then talking with one electrician, there was a huge value engineering that was found. So I mean, that's what happened. We got a nice savings here,
Yeah.
so.
Great.
And then also, I guess the roofing, it was then brought to our attention about the garland roofs. Actually,
What's
you
that?
and I talking, actually, at Bird Island, you confirmed it, so.
Yeah.
So that was another reason, I think, I feel like that was a really good thing that we bid, otherwise we would have had garland roof, that they bid on to do roofing penetrations, and we'd have to get a credit, and your credits are never as good.
So when you say we had a net cost reduction of $1 million here, then is that off of the original project budget, or is that off of what the project bids that came in?
The project bids that came in, those.
That's the one that you
What
rebid.
they had came in previously, and then to what they're at now. It was
Okay.
$1 million.
Just the ones you rebid?
Just the ones we rebid.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Just for curiosity, did any of the original bidders retain that, or did they all go to different bidders when you rebid it? Do you remember?
Some are the same.
The same ones bid it again, and they did have lower numbers. I think all of them changed. I mean, technically, the one that got Olivia for electrical, they were the low bidder, but they placed her number wrong and stuff, so.
Okay.
I think that was the only one. The masonry changed, roofing changed. Metal panels was part of roofing, so that was just kind of split apart. So-
Okay.
So did we have any scope in our project, because we have that 866 of ESSER funds that we've already spent? Did that reduce the scope of our referendum project at all?
Nope, it was furniture that you purchased. What else was it? It was mostly furniture,
Shop
which
stuff.
wasn't part of.
That was, shop stuff.
No, I understand that, but what I'm.
Of that 800, most of that is the playground.
Right, but what I'm getting at is you have that into our original budget, which isn't really then. It's not real. That 866 should not even be included in this line. So our 43.4 should actually be 866 less than that. What I'm trying to get to is we can't grow the scope just because we did a good job of selling the project. Because that's not, because if we turn around and say, hey, we've got $4 million extra and we bid it and we go to that, we leave ourselves no room for something that might happen 2 years down the road.
Other than,
That's my dilemma, because in the real world, when I've built projects like this, we always hold to the original one, and if we do a good job, great, we collect that at the end. I understand we gotta look forward on it, but I'm not in favor of including all of that windfall now if we can wait, if that makes sense.
you can't, you legally you have to, correct me if I'm wrong, all the referendum funds have to be spent on the project?
Or you
You
give
can't-
it back
'cause
to the
I-
taxpayers, you have to, yeah.
I
you add
like,
to
I like the
project
idea
budget.
of if we were, below budget, of putting that in a long-term facilities maintenance, account. And I was told that that's not,
Yeah,
you can't do that.
You'll have to add to the project, is my understanding, and Baker Tilly, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my understanding is you would add to the project, so I'm just gonna use this as an example. This roof hasn't been done in 20 years, so now let's do this roof since we have extra funds
Right.
and stuff, that's what you.
Right, that's
you
my
did-
understanding. What I'm saying is that that's where, you know, after we, I mean, because we technically haven't even broken ground on the major stuff yet. And we don't know what we don't know, but now we're assigning all this money right now. It leaves us no wiggle room for if something else comes up. That's my concern.
So should we talk about the budget real quick? I mean, if we flip to the next page, this kind of dives into where we're at dollar-wise.
Can I go back one quick question? I want to make sure I have this clear on that net tax capacity. So you basically, are you saying that in the Bold School District, there was 30% more value that was able to be taxed? Is that right?
Yes, and most of that came from farmland, so the assessment, when they do the assessment, that's my understanding from, one of the assessors.
Okay.
Is that the increase happened, due to assessments increasing on farmland, majority of the district.
Okay, thank you.
So then the
Yeah, absolutely.
impact on farmland is gonna go up on this little estimate then. It went down on household, but the rural farmland went up on a per acre basis, if I'm understanding that correctly then.
So, it,
No,
I don't have all that data in front of me, but in theory, if the majority of the increase was due to farmland, then that group would pay, their assessment would be a little higher. Overall, the tax rate dropped from what it was because of the value increasing, but because their share of the tax base increased, it could be that they pay a little higher. They may have, I don't know where that ended up because the tax rate came down. I'd have to look at that exactly to see what that is, but at the end of the day, the impact's 40, it's less. I can look and see what that impact is, on farm, on the acreage, on farmland, and get that back to the group and see what that looks like.
We're gonna need
I
that
think
number.
That would be very important.
on a per acre,
Yeah.
just on a per acre number, if you can do that,
Yeah.
that would be.
So does
Yeah,
that mean
sure,
the
we can do that.
little, like, example that you could go to the website and look up your acres and all that stuff really didn't mean anything?
It changed.
Well, right, but that's
Yeah.
not a good answer.
I know, that's what we're
It's
finding
not
out.
because of this program or this project. It was the assessed values increased.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was outside the scope of this project.
Well, right, so basically if the guy went in now, if a person went in and went through that calculator again with the new assessed values, then it might give them an idea what's going on.
Okay.
And what they're essentially saying, because those assessed values are higher, they don't need to ask for as much to get to the 40, or the 39.9 million. That's really what it comes down to, so they say, oh, well, instead of taking 10%, we only need 9%, so you're still paying the same amount, but it's gonna go down because your assessed values, if that makes sense.
I think they could be paying a little more
Well, they'll be paying
per acre, right, less
yeah,
percentage, but a
less
little more per
percentage,
acre.
but more per acre
Right.
because the value of the acre is up.
Right.
But is that credit that comes back from the state, would that be more because wasn't that on farmland?
You have to get 75% of that increase back,
So it's
approximately.
better, right? Maybe?
So
Would that
that's why, this is Ryan, this is why you can see it's complicated when you ask me a question like that and I'm doing, math, math somersaults in my head. It just depends on the property. I'll look and see what that is, but the calculator that's online, if it's even still active, you couldn't use that calculator because it uses a smaller net tax capacity because it increased, right? At the time when we did this, we had 23, we didn't have 24. net tax capacity, right? So you can't go back and use that previous calculator because it's a different tax rate now.
Which makes sense.
That makes sense?
Well,
Yep. it
Yeah, but
does.
we're gonna
It's
need
just
that
not
per
a-
acre number.
Sure.
And that's gonna be a question, I'm
If
sure.
you could just do an average
Yep.
district number, that'd be great. And what is the tax, rebate today? Is it 75% yet? Is that where the state's at?
70%. We're at 70% tax. And that, so just to be clear, that comes off, that's 70% credit to the liability the tax, or the ag landowner pays, right? They still pay, house, garage, 1 acre, but they're gonna get the, 70% credit on that too.
And is that set to increase?
I don't think that got passed this time around. I don't think they touched that. I don't recall seeing that got increased, in this last session. That's not that would've been big. I would've missed that then. I'll double check, but I'm almost positive it didn't. In the previous session, it was talked about going up. It's been never down.
All right. Thank you. Cole, we'll go back to you. Sorry.
No, you're
No.
fine, you're totally fine, that was the learning for me, so. So current project budget, there's that 47 million that we just talked about. The $38,672,915, that's all the dollars that we approved in the previous, board meeting, so those 26 work scopes. Then these added, ones that we just rebid, that we're gonna present next Tuesday, or a week from Tuesday, to the board meeting, which is another 7.5. We right now have just under $1 million left over.
And we still have the $1.6 million contingency.
Included in
Well,
that number.
it's, so technically it's 1.47, I think it is, but what they say right here, 1.6, that's if you guys decide to do all the alternates, which next page will have the alternate cost, then we'll have an extra $149,537. Add that to the 1.47 that we did have for contingency set aside, that's where you're getting the 1.6 that's noted right here, which is 5% of the budget.
So in reality, from referendum, if we were at 43, we're now at 46, we're technically 3 million over what we said we were gonna do. Just so we all understand the math, because there's other people gonna see this very quickly of saying, oh, so you already got a budget overrun.
But that's
No.
the original scope.
No, what I'm saying right
No,
now, if you
I
look
get
at the
it's over
original
the
scope,
dollar.
we're $3 million over our original scope right now.
But I'm saying the original scope of we haven't changed, like, what we said
What
we were
physically
going to
is
do.
gonna get
Yeah.
done.
Physically is the same, yes, but we're
Yes.
$3 million over that original scope right now with the bids that come back, which,
Because
mean,
you
it's
were
fine.
planning it to be at the 43,
That original number.
right. Because that's what, I'm just saying, because that's what's gonna come out. There's gonna be people out there that are gonna be crawling all over these numbers and we gotta be prepared.
Yep.
That's why I'm being very stickler on it, because those conversations have already come up in some circles. There's people that are watching this very closely.
Is our answer?
Well, that's what I'm just saying, we're 3 million over our original scope, we can say, well, walk outside, inflation's everywhere.
Right.
That's essentially the answer right now.
And we've got at least a couple million of it on top with our interest earnings. So we're close.
Yes.
But not under where you, but, right.
Yeah,
and again, you know, those interest earnings, I mean, you can give them back to the taxpayers, yes, which probably a lot of people would be like, okay, sweet.
well, but
Or
see,
you add it to your
but
project.
the interest earning is in that 47 right now, so technically it's not. We're still saying that we're still within our tax budget, but because we did we got very good job of selling it, favorable interest rates, this kind of stuff, we're still within the available project budget, even though the costs are higher,
Right.
is how we need to explain.
And if we wouldn't have gained that on interest,
Then we
or,
would be
or if
3
the city wouldn't have kicked in
Correct.
half for the pool, then we would have had to cut our project.
Correct. And that's what we turn around and say. So that's just the reality of where we are right now with inflation and construction costs and things like that in our country, which everybody can relate to.
And we also got some on that bonding, right? There was a month that we got,
What was that?
The premium,
the premium.
Yeah.
There was, I believe, Actually, Ryan, isn't the premium all in that 2.2?
Well, it's in the 44,117, I'm assuming.
It's in the 44
Yeah.
point seven, yeah.
Bond
Can I-
proceeds with premium.
I'm not hearing everything. I think there's some discussions happening out there on terms of what the proceeds can be used for. So I want to clarify if that's okay with the group. Is that right on what it can be used for?
Yes.
Yes,
So, when I'm in conversations with your bond counsel, so I'm your municipal advisor, so I handle the numbers and I have a fiduciary role to make sure that your interests are protected. So I'm regulated and registered with the SEC, right? So I need to give, my number one goal is to give you all the best information available so you can make decisions. And I have to give you, regardless of what it means to me financially, so I have to always give you the best number and answer. Your bond counsel protects your legal interests, okay? So it's right and left hand, however you view us, okay? So I'm in some conversations with your bond counsel, Dorsey, to find out, I know there's potential scopes we're talking here of what you may or may not choose to do with extra bond proceeds. The question that was put on the ballot, technically, and I am not an attorney, and so let me say this from that standpoint, I'm not opining on this, but interpretations from bond counsels have always been, the question that's answered, the question that is asked ultimately is, the voters are approving in this case for the acquisition and betterment of school facilities. So, bond counsel is going to give us the indication or the okay onto what scopes we can use this money for. So this money can't just be put into LTFM. It has to be used for anything. Technically, it's for the acquisition and betterment of schools. So technically, it could be anything. But really what we want bond counsel to tell us is these additional scopes that we're talking about, these are things that were included in the overall project that that you would describe to the public, okay? So those are the things, and we need to get some interpretation from bond counsel, and I'm waiting on that. But I want you to know that it has to be used for these items that are for the project. Or technically, I need interpretation from bond counsel, but it cannot just go into your LTFM fund. Okay, I think I heard that out there. That can't happen. We can do some other things, but it needs to go to things that were discussed, in public meetings about the larger plan. You may have reduced some scope in order to get to that 39,950 we talked about. I'm just talking about the bond issue. Okay, so we need to look at review and comment, and we need to just make sure your bond counsel is okay with the interpretation of, hey, this extra scope, if it's something we're looking to do, make sure they sign off on it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And I have those numbers too, those impacts, looking at, because I'd already run this for farmland. I've got a couple of different per acre values. Is it fair to, I can't remember exactly what the median acreage per acre value is, 8,000. Is that reasonable for $8,000 per acre? The impacts, if we do that, the impacts actually still went down. So for $8,000 per acre, if that was the assessment there for farmland, on the calculator, what we were showing that you were going to have about 38 cents. I'm sorry, that's monthly. Annually, it'd be about $4.50. With our new net tax capacity, which increased by 33%, it was going to go from $4.50 to about $3.59. So it's not an increase above what we were saying earlier. There's just so many variables when we're looking at tax base and relationships between property classes, and then also within the property class, is somebody's farm bigger? What's going on? So it's still a
Oddly enough, it
decrease.
still works out
That
to a
helps.
bushel.
I didn't hear what he said, but
It's kind of a joke. Originally,
I figured it was.
people were saying it was going to cost about 1 bushel an acre.
A bushel of
Oh.
corn per acre.
Yeah, so corn was
About
$6
Okay.
last year. Now it's about $3.59. So it still works out about the same.
Yeah,
Or
there you go.
$3.89, but yeah.
So fair enough. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. But it went down overall. And just to give you raw numbers, I'm going to talk in big picture. Your net tax capacity for the calculator, that was 13 million. We'll call it 13.7 million. After we got the 2024 and everything came in, we actually went from 13.7 million to about 18.3 million. So a very sizable increase, 33%. That's what really drove the tax rate down from roughly 18.7% to 14.9%.
And what are
Okay.
those values? 13.7 million is what?
That's the tax rate based on the levy, the annual levy.
Oh,
for
the
debt
total
service, the way we
tax,
structured
taxable
it.
amount.
Yeah,
Got
the
it.
percentage.
Okay.
Yep,
All right,
for that rate, just for this bond, just this bond.
okay.
Interesting.
So the next page, 7. I think this is a prime example of what Ryan was talking about. This is stuff that was discussed with the community, the taxpayers. These are the alternates that you guys, I think, were originally in the project, and then to hit the numbers that we wanted were removed with hopes that we'd have the money to do it. So, and I brought plans over here, so if anybody wants me to dig through stuff on plans, I can show you more, or Brett can too. And I have them all marked, the pages too, so. The first one is the remodel of the Olivia main gym restrooms, so those are the ones by concessions. So that number with all the different work scopes that would need to go into remodeling that, it's $119,900. Any questions on that?
So, maybe missed it. So have you gotten bids on this part of it?
Yeah, when they submitted their numbers,
Okay.
they submitted what it would cost for this alternate, this alternate, this alternate.
And that's just a remodel, nothing else, just remodeling, I
It's-
mean, fixtures and plumbing
it's
and,
new fixtures, it's new plumbing pipes.
okay, okay,
ADA compliant.
Yep,
all right.
It's a major.
yeah.
For those bathrooms.
Yeah, they need it.
The next one is the replacement of the main Olivia gym floor. I also wanna note that is, also with basketball hoops too, realigning the basketball hoops to match with the restriping and all that stuff.
With new basketball?
Not new basketball hoops, realigning the basketball
Oh, okay.
hoops. That's 276,000. Alternate 3 is a new ECFE parking area, and that's 188,200. Alternate 4 was the Olivia concession area remodeling, and that was basically gutting the concession area, making it slightly larger, getting rid of one vestibule into the space and making it a storage space.
Is that
Are we
the
talking
gym?
the old ones on the backside of the gym?
Correct.
Why
'Cause I
did
thought we were-
I thought we were getting new concessions.
I did
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we're talking about turning that into storage.
Just
Yep.
Oh, to make it
Yes.
storage?
size of
Yes,
it
the
for
new
storage.
concessions is part of the basement.
Right.
Yeah,
That is taking that concessions and remodeling it, making it a storage area.
Oh,
Talked about
I'm sorry.
storage for all the gym, like the
Yeah.
chairs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Slide right in.
That's why I wanted to clarify, it's not, the remodeling is technically into a storage facility.
So if I remember right, the east entrance would be essentially removed.
That's correct.
Bump that whole area out, take
Yep.
some of that commons area and close it off and make it all storage.
Correct. And then the last one would be Bird Island, making a public restroom expansion, so you'd have the current existing bathrooms, which are part of the base, but to remodel. Right across from it, it would be to make kind of more bathroom stalls, basically. I'm trying to remember, I think it was 4 additional stalls.
And that's in that wing, right?
Yep, right across from the bathroom.
So you would have men's on one side, women on the other, or two
No,
on each side?
They 2 on each side. Cause the ones that are there now are small, I think there's like 2 stalls in each one, so
Yeah.
this would give you additional stalls.
is
That's-
there any code issues with the number of people we may have at a ball game where we need to have more
Restrooms.
restrooms?
I'm gonna assume that the architects looked at that and there is not, but I could follow up on
Well, I think
that.
that'd be,
Because that's something that they should have called out
I
if,
know
like,
we
we
talked
have to
about
do
Olivia, I
this.
don't remember talking about it in Bird Island.
well, I guess that's the biggest thing we need to understand, that, you know, cause it's an easier sell if budget gets tight of saying, hey, we need to do this. We gotta come up to code, we've got to, you know, go through, so I think we need to have
Then
that
it should have been in the original scope.
Yeah.
correct, but that's a different
which I would
discussion.
think they would have told us.
I'll follow up on that and find out for sure.
I'm assuming it's taken care of, but I think we need to make sure we got that verified.
Yep, because I would assume that if that was the case where you need to have 4 stalls of games that run on per each steps, then they would have done the big one and got rid of those, or like made that the.
Right, but the other side of it is, like, for instance, you know, cause that Olivia's saying, well, we're gonna have them use these restrooms down here in addition, so I don't know, like, at Bird Island, if there's some more down the hall at the end, down by the dance area, if they're gonna turn around and say, well, we included those in our calculations, I don't know. I don't know if there's any bathrooms down there or not.
I can verify.
I thought there was.
I remember the discussion, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember we talked a lot about it in Olivia too, like
Yeah.
the bathrooms, but.
Like I said, I just wanna make sure that cause we'd look really foolish if we come in and say, oh, by the way.
Need to have a porta pot in the hallway.
I don't think, in my memory, I don't think there are any other
I don't think there's.
surviving bathrooms once
I don't think there's
we demo.
any. Plus, you know.
Does
it's
it
a
seem,
want to use.
does it seem strange? Is there any way you could do
Well, the
the
locker
men-
rooms,
the men's on one side and
Yeah.
the women's on the other side?
the locker rooms have more bathrooms.
Oh, okay.
So
we're
would
talking-
that vacate the
wouldn't be
one and just do
used
the
during
other?
Events other than,
Like not do the
Well,
existing and?
that-
I
Do
mean,
you
they
guys
have,
lock your locker rooms?
we have two
during
men's,
events?
it's like, which
So
one do you
nobody
go
can get
into?
in?
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, people
No,
could
they
go
need
in
that.
there
You
to
should
go to the
have
bathroom.
men's on one side,
I don't
women's
know.
on the
I
other.
don't think that they like that because it's kind of like I wanna, for lack of a better term, a safe area for the athletes.
Yeah.
students and mixed with adults.
But it might count for code.
There is another set of bathrooms over by, the robotics area.
Are those
but
still gonna
that's
be there
quite a
when it's,
distance.
When they tear that all down.
when they tear that out?
Nope, that's still there.
That,
Do those work?
Function.
I guess basically the bottom line is that if we have, let's say we've got a regional basketball game going on, or a regional meet, and the gym is packed,
Or the two?
standing room or whatever, we're at capacity. I wanna make sure that we can handle
Yep.
that max capacity without sending them, well, you gotta go down to the South 40 to go to the bathroom, yeah.
right.
Nicole, is it possible to do all the men's on one side and the ladies on the other
I
side?
mean, we could, yeah, we could
To me, it's-
change that.
Doesn't make sense
Nothing
to
that
have
started there, so we could
men and women
change
on
it.
this side and men and ladies on this side.
Right.
You should have,
Cause you'd walk out and wonder which one you should go to.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then the women's are gonna have lines
one's full and
everywhere.
there's nothing.
Right.
You wanna
Yeah,
go
I
on
mean,
the
we
right or do you wanna go to the
definitely-
left?
All right,
gonna
Or do you
Pull
have
that
to
way
have unisex? By
Well, have
law,
we-
do you have
we-
to have unisex?
We had talked a little bit about doing, having a family.
A
kind of-
group stalls.
Like a
kind of
family-
thing, yeah. Where it's just like, it's all just a bunch of single stalls that you lock, and it's
Oh, yeah,
typically
whatever.
like masonry walls.
Do we not have to do that?
You don't have to, no.
Really?
You could do it like how you guys are, where it's just, this is a women,
Men's and
this is,
women?
yep.
that's what we do.
It works for me.
It depends, I mean, it really depends on, some people like to have those group ones, some don't, so.
But I think we should look at one side being the men's and one side being the ladies.
So the ladies get the bigger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, yeah, because there's more. Takes longer.
We need the stalls.
So that's the
Yeah.
alternates, guys, and if, I mean, bottom line, if you guys go with all the alternates right now, you'd still have about 150,000 left over, which would then be added to the contingency to be used for the unforeseen, such as like what happened at Bird Island with the wet gym floor. I mean, that's where the funds would pull from, is the,
So a
that
contingency of $1.6 million, is that a comfortable one, or is it for this size project?
I'm gonna say it's comfortable, but I have not done a project where you demo like a big chunk of the school and then build it back, so.
Okay,
I mean, my other projects I had less than that stuff, so I think this is a comfortable one. In all honesty, and then at the end, or not even the end, you know, we get to the last summer, you know, if we still have a bunch left, there could be conversations about, is there anything added that we wanna get done?
So to be clear, if we do all the alternates, it still leaves us 1.6,
Yep,
right? Okay.
that is correct. The only caveat I just wanna throw out before anybody else has a question is, usually there's a 45-day window on their numbers for the alternates. The first round of bids came in the end of September, so it's been over 45 days. I need to just reach out to them to make sure that their numbers are still good. I'm gonna assume that they're gonna still be good, but you know what assume means, so. I don't wanna guarantee my life on it or anything.
But we can pick and choose, like we turn around and say, okay, so right now, in order to gain synergies with the construction aspect, we may wanna do like the remodeling of the restrooms. But the parking area, the gym floor can be done at any time without affecting the construction schedule. So that might be something we turn around and say, well, if we have money left over, then we can do this because, you know, it's not gonna go, but if we commit to it now, then that money's spent and maybe we got something else that comes up when we dig a hole. And it's like, boy, I wish you would've saved that.
I fully agree. And then if you halfway through, you feel comfortable, stuff's going well,
Yeah,
then you add those
Or do
on,
you-
or I like that idea.
Is this kind of the order that we would,
This is a
That's
very-
what it was
Move
the
forward.
order of, like, at one
How it
point
was
you guys had deemed
prioritized.
what is most important. One thing I do wanna throw out, just FYI, I know like the flooring people for the gym replacement, like they actually have an option to save a little bit of money, it's not a whole ton. And it's same with the dance floor at Bird Island, they have some value engineering there. So there's that, I mean, it's not, it's like $10,000, so then we'll drop the dollar a huge amount, but I just wanna tell you guys that we could entertain like a value engineering thought that they have
yeah.
too.
so unlike the replacement of the gym floor here, are they bidding a better floor protection like we ran into Bird Island where it
No,
cost-
it's usually always the standard and because you don't know what's there, like, do you really wanna spend an extra $10,000-$20,000 if it's not needed?
So we possibly could be spending another
You could.
9,000 or more.
I would be of saying the last thing we would do on the project is replace that gym floor, cause that's something we can do anytime. And we'll have a good idea in about 2 years whether or not that floor, you know, it's like, hey, we got enough money, let's go ahead and do it. And that would be my gut. My gut right now is if I had to do something today, and we don't have to do any, I would say let's do the 2 restrooms. Because that's what everybody's gonna see from the public standpoint, the people that are paying for it. That's what they're gonna see. And then everything else, we just kind of put on a list and we just roll the dice and say, let's rebid it later, because it's not necessary. It would be nice to have that.
And you're right, so they could do it at a
I
different time.
agree.
Yeah,
Other than
Me
the
too.
concession area, you should do then
I
now too.
feel you should do
Yeah, 'cause
concession.
the area
We're gonna be-
modeling.
Just
It's
because
right
that
there.
would be part of
Storage is
something.
precious.
It's a yeah, it's a I mean, all I'm saying is then that, because those construction crews coming into that would be going on,
I
so.
do have a question about the flooring though, just because we've gone round and round with that flooring and safety concerns. I mean, I'm not the expert on that, I just hear that the floor has, there's just issues with it. Now, I don't know details, but from a safety standpoint, do you wait? I mean, you'll have to, whenever you do this, you have to coordinate, cause it's FIAD, right? Like, you can't just take the kids out of that space, so, I mean, you can't just push it down the road and think you can do it anytime. But I hear over and over, the quality of the floor, like, I'm asking the question, I don't know enough about it, I just hear.
What are you talking about?
From injuries, I don't know if
From
Just
it's,
what
'cause it's so
school?
hard.
oh,
right here.
here, sorry,
Bird Island's almost done.
yeah,
We're talking
so
about
for
Olivia,
this
yeah.
Olivia floor.
It sounds like both the girls and the boys are gonna play in Bird Island
Yeah, so it's,
for game nights.
For FIAD.
Well, we have
She's
FIAD, which
talking
pushes all the
FIAD.
kids.
I would assume there's gonna be some practices there.
Practices. Dance will still potentially maybe use it, I don't know.
We're not saying
In Bird
it.
Island, they have a dance.
Well, they have their
dance gym.
studio, but I just,
They
I
have a
don't know.
dance gym too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, on their big nights, will they use it? I don't know, I can't answer those questions.
Something would have to be really, really go ugly for us to have to spend that 1.6 million. So I'd say that there should be a 90% chance it would get done.
Right.
But I'd kind of like to, like
Let's
see how
Pat's
things go.
let's
recommendation.
wait a little, I think.
Wait on the
I-
gym floor, wait on the ECF parking lot, that's
Yeah.
almost $600,000,
Right.
or $500,000.
Is that something that could be done?
Without costing us a lot more money later, other than maybe 10,000 extra on the gym
Or
floor.
inflation.
Gym floor, like, one thing I was thinking, but then it affects your FIAD, like, if you do it during an off time, cause like, all the flooring people are super busy doing schools during the summer, right? So if you do it during an off time, but that would be during the school year, and
And
it
maybe they
affects
can
FIAD.
adjust for a month.
Like, and you might be
It
able
could
to
be
get
done.
some sort of savings there, you might,
Mhm.
you know, that might be an opportunity. I
Can we
just
do
wanna
it
throw
over
out,
a
I think
break?
the parking area over there is smart though for dropping off the
Incorporate
kids
like
and
Christmas
stuff.
break or something into it. and-
But the amount of kids that use that, I mean, it's smart, but you look at, what is there, 40 kids in ECFE, 20
Right.
kids, 30 kids. I'm not discrediting them by any
Yeah,
means,
and-
that is
Alright.
not my,
And to simply call it the ECFE parking lot, it's gonna be very nice for them. It also helps with, we've got employees that park over here. We've got the football games happen here, the fifth and sixth grade football.
I thought it was just gonna be for drop-off.
yeah.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what are we talking about now? Isn't it
That
just
should
a
only
swing
be
in and
for
out?
kids,
No.
for parents to drop off their kids.
Oh, it's a parking lot?
Well,
It's-
it's a parking row.
How many
It's
stalls
like
do we get
a-
in there?
Is it 18?
I thought that was the whole purpose of it, for more ease for parents to drop their.
You could
kids
do a
off.
couple drop-offs and then some part,
I suppose, and then when it's not school time, you can make it no parking.
Right, or you do 4 or 5 that are drop-off only and the other ones are parking, I don't know.
How many spots?
Yeah,
are
I
there?
thought the whole idea was allow them to get closer to the school. to drop
Initially,
off.
that's what it was gonna be, and then
One of these has some striping.
if you remember, the plans came back and it had the parents
Yep.
dropping it off and then continuing into the bus loop area. And it was, nobody thought that was a good idea.
Safety.
3 handicap, 2 handicap.
But now it's a parking lot that,
Well, so it's just parking, off-street parking, with,
Basically
stalls.
widening the street.
4 handicap, 1,
Yeah.
2, 3,
Yeah.
Well, then that can, I mean, again, I'm not, these littles are important, I'm not.
Yeah, because it wasn't a loop anymore, it was actually just.
but still, I think you should have a certain amount for parents to drop off their kids.
I don't know if you guys
Should
can
be
see that.
reserved for that.
So it's gonna be cut in.
But this part
Just
of it,
approximately, how many can you tell?
18, there's
18,
18,
okay.
4 handicap.
Yeah, but you
and
wouldn't need
14
all of them
Okay.
for drop-off.
Yeah, you could say no parking during these hours.
Yeah, have signs, drop-off, parking.
Drop off parking.
so who, because we aren't really doing exterior work, is this bid completely separate? Like, who gave a bid on this already? Cause,
You're doing exterior work, you have a lot
Well,
of, work
but I
that's
mean-
happening.
but not,
The parking lot you're talking.
Paving
right,
and such.
thank you.
Yeah, there's some paving that's happening, so the
That's
site
supposed to fill in.
contractor
Okay.
is doing it. I mean, cause you got stuff up here that you're
And
doing.
they wouldn't be scheduled to start till when?
New entrance and
You got the
exit.
loading dock, I mean,
Oh,
you
all
have,
the little,
Oh,
Yeah,
so
I
the
guess
same
those.
one that bid those, bid that.
yep, exactly.
okay. But none of that work would happen, when would that work start for their scope?
This would happen
You're talking the front store? or
spring there,
Well, just like
I
when
mean,
this
it's,
contractor bid this, like when would they show up?
To begin like the new parking lot?
they're,
like if it
they'll
were-
be here throughout the whole
Oh,
2
the whole
years.
thing?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
Yeah.
They're gonna be coming and going, I mean, cause like they're a huge portion for the storm shelter where your multipurpose room and all that is.
Oh,
I mean, they'll be the ones that will be
Okay.
excavating.
Okay.
They're the ones that will be doing all the fill to bring the new building
The
to
new
grade
Cafeteria.
and stuff,
Okay,
so
I
I
just
mean,
was
they'll be
afraid that they
here.
would be here a little bit and then not come back, and then you're paying more to bring them back, or.
I mean, it will be at some point, like, we would probably wanna decide on that one. Don't wait till the very end, because, I mean, they'll be down to finishing touches,
Well, I
you know,
just
they're
think-
not gonna.
My gut feeling is I gotta wait till we dig this hole in the corner. That's our biggest concern, cause we don't know, and we
The
break
new
those walls.
construction ones are-
Yeah,
And so I'd say we table as much as we can until we know what happens when we dig that hole.
absolutely.
I guess my question is, what's our drop dead date for making a decision on
Right.
this? I guess that's the question I'd like to know. I mean, when do we have to pull the trigger on these in order to,
Well, the board meeting's in the 12th, so it'll be from Tuesday, so if you wanna present it with that to award them these things, otherwise you do have a chance of the numbers going up.
Sure.
Also have a chance that the numbers could go down, who knows what happens in the construction industry, I mean,
correct?
in all honesty, but I mean, are these numbers gonna be the exact same? If you decide to do this a year from now? I'm gonna say no, they will not be the exact same.
Sure.
I don't know
We're gambling.
which way they're gonna go.
Don't know which way.
And like I said, it's a
was your-
45-day window that they're honoring these numbers, so.
Was your question though more, is there a time during the next 2 years where we have to
Right.
decide?
Yeah, that's more my question,
Yeah,
is it's
that's
not
what I
the
thought you
fact
were
that
asking.
waiting a year. When would we have to spend the dollars by, I guess is my question.
I don't, Ryan, do you have a time frame that, I'm assuming by the end of the project, that's what I'm gonna assume. Now, again, let's
But what
just say,
constitutes the end of the project?
well, right now, it's planned for beginning of school year 26 would be the end of the project, right?
Yeah.
But now, you guys could decide, let's do this E ECFE parking, that's not gonna interrupt school at all. And we'll add 3 months onto your schedule, you guys do that now. I mean, that's doable, we could do other things too. You could add it on
Well-
at the very end if you want, and it just adds on to our
Does-
schedule.
It just draws the length of the program.
Yep, exactly.
Does the
You can be
state,
here for another year.
yeah.
That answers my
Do we
question.
pay
We
you
were just
more?
talking about buying that
Time
house
out.
over there.
Do we have to pay you more?
If you do add on to the schedule, there would be cause you have to pay for a construction manager to be
Right.
here, all that stuff, so there would be that added charge. Now, what that charge is, really depends on the scope that you're adding, the time frame you're adding. You could possibly, if you add something that's not on these plans, then there could be, the architectural, engineering, stuff like that, you'd have those fees as well.
I think really a question for for you to go to the contractors, right, and say, when do they need to let you know by before these numbers would change?
If you
kind
think
of?
about this, so the remodel of the Olivia main gym restroom, so that one, we're not planning to hit that till the summer of 26.
Yeah, you can
So-
base it off of our phasing plan.
Oh,
Yeah,
Well, and that's kind of where
I was gonna say.
I was going to, is where does it make sense for these to fit in as well?
Yep.
Road building.
Like when we're in those areas like the concession remodel or whatever, and the storage.
That-
Yeah, we're not in there until June of 26, right?
That's where. if we
even that
could-
remodeling, the concession storage, like turning the concessions into storage, you're not doing that with the new build, that's not until 26.
for the
Yeah.
phase plan, you still have that over there?
Yeah, it's over here.
It's
Yeah.
not next year.
No,
It's
so we're,
not next year, next summer, so the Bird Island, next summer, we're planning to work on Bird Island, so
On the
that one
rest-
would be the
yeah.
one you would wanna have a decision on sooner than later. So here you go, I don't have the Bird Island one yet, sorry guys. So the dark gray ones, that's summer 26. So that would be the concessions in the bathroom. Obviously, the gym floor, we don't have
There's nothing
any,
in there.
yeah, because we're not doing anything really in there. Obviously, summer is best because then you're not interfering with gym or anything like that.
But if they can accommodate, it's cheaper during the year.
Yeah, if you could, figure out where can we put kids so we can do that during the school year and
well, if we got other areas like
you'll have
that
the-
wrong room area or
Yeah.
things like that,
Right.
then you could
Yeah.
put them up there and not
Yeah.
worry about.
That's what our plan is.
So could we recommend these projects and then say half a year from now or 3/4, it's like, oh, we found something that's gonna cost us another $1 million, and then we can say, now we're gonna cut this.
you'll probably never get the credit like you're doing.
No, no.
I hate to tell you.
I think we're better off just, if we
Waiting.
want to approve or recommend 1 or 2, do that. I wouldn't do more than that, I don't think at this time.
So Bird Island is really the first one that you're gonna get to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, next time.
And
When do we break ground here? When do we demolish that? When do we start doing
May
demolishing
16th,
of this next year?
May 16th. It won't be May 16th, though, we'll.
But I'm
we
just
have to
saying, but it's
abate it,
next
yeah,
summer, it's
Yep.
next summer,
Spring.
we'll know what we're getting into and so.
25.
June.
So then we'll know, so by this time or August or whatever of next summer, we'll know whether or not we're gonna need that contingency and then we can come back and say, okay,
I
let's
think
do
we'll have a
this.
pretty good idea.
I think you will,
Mhm.
probably before August. In all honesty,
Hopefully July.
yeah. I
Which
mean,
gives
it
us
really
still
depends
plenty of
on
time
how
to
the
rebid
demo's
and get in
going.
there.
It really depends on, and then who knows if there's
The
gonna be
storefront
unsuitable
too.
soils there that, we might have to do some
Exactly.
stuff there and stuff. I think by August, you definitely would know. I would say probably July.
I mean, worst case scenario is we dig underneath it and we find out that 20 years ago they had a big fuel oil leak and we gotta remediate the soil.
Yep.
Don't even talk.
Well, no,
Better not
that's
have
serious.
it.
You gotta think of that.
But I'm just saying, that's
Absolutely.
the kind of crap that
Yep.
can
That's
come
how you
up.
run into it.
Or the plans didn't show the tie-in for the building accurately, and now we have there's $500,000 there or something, There could be a lot of things that could come up. Or it could all go amazingly well.
I feel we should recommend the Olivia restroom, the Bird Island restroom, expansion of that,
That's it.
and the probably the storage, because they're gonna, whenever they get into that, and the other two be, let's wait and see. That's my opinion.
I think so too. That gives us almost 2 million of contingency,
Yeah.
half a million there and the 1.6.
Not saying I don't want them two done, but
Yeah.
Right, I agree.
have some cushion.
We're pretty confident that we need to do the areas that people are gonna see. And that are gonna be functional, like the concessions and the restrooms. I mean, those are high visible areas and parents are gonna be dealing with the concessions, the storage areas and stuff. And
And the, Olivia Gym floor is the biggest one, most expensive.
But it's also.
It is, and the thing that scares me about that in the scope of all of this that's happening is I'd hate to have to try to relocate a bunch of people that during while all of this other stuff is going on, we're already gonna be extremely tight for space. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but we could do this project outside of, of Nexus. You guys wouldn't have to be a part of that.
So you can
It'd be
use
just
that
like-
for space when the rest of the school's apart.
Yeah,
I believe you can, now,
Funding though.
yeah, I'm guessing that you would have to do the funding before, and that might be Ryan might be able to answer that one, like, Ryan, can you hear me?
I can hear you say my
Okay.
name.
So, so what they said is, like, if they wanna do the gym floor, but they do it
Sure.
outside of Nexus, so they hire FLR Sanders themselves.
Sure.
And they wanna use the referendum money. Does it have to be done, like, within the window that we are working here? Can they do that, cause it's outside of Nexus? I honestly don't know that
So
answer.
let me, because I was listening to the conversation. I think a question was asked at some point about what's our timeline? When do we have to expend all these proceeds? That sort of thing. Is that what we're after here, Nicole? Is that the question?
That's
So
the
they-
question, and then if they wanna hire somebody independent outside of Nexus to do this, can they use the referendum money for that?
Yeah, it's not tied, the money itself is tied to the question, it's not tied to the people doing the work. So it's tied to the scope of the project, but I will add this too, so, the other part, which is, what's your time frame? So we have to have a reasonable expectation from when we closed on the bonds, 3 years beyond that, so, when we closed on the bonds earlier in the year, 3 years from that point, we have to have had a reasonable expectation to have spent, to spend down 85% of the proceeds, okay? And so I was just doing some quick math while you were talking. So if we talk about 44 million roughly of the proceeds with the premium and another, I did more than 2.2, we'll say closer to 3 million of investment earnings, 15%, you have to spend $40 million. And I don't think that's gonna be a problem, given what your budget is. At that point, at year 3, what we have to do is well, as we move along, we'll figure out that as we go, because it depends on how much you spend down, how quickly. But remember, I talked about that. I was asked about, hey, does any of this money have to go back? And someone was talking about, yeah, we can't earn more than what we're paying on the bonds, right? We can't earn above the arbitrage or the bond yield. So in year 5, the anniversary, 5 years after the closing on the bonds is when around that time we'll call it, is when a calculation has to be done, and that's when any liability would be owed to the IRS. So as we move forward, you've got plenty of time is the short answer, okay? I think you've got time to figure this out. You don't need to rush into anything, and the fact that, we're talking, you've already got 40 million covered here, and the scope of things that you had talked about even for the alternates, I believe, I'm not worried about you spending down the 85% in 3 years.
Got it.
That makes sense. But we do, as we move along, like I said, we want to make sure that we don't. Here's the most important takeaway about what I'm going to say tonight is that as we move forward in years to come, right, in the next couple of years, we want to just keep track of where we are, maybe do an interim calculation to see what that liability is, put whatever liability that there could be away, and we don't touch it to make sure that we've got the proceeds and we don't spend everything down. That's the most important thing I can say tonight.
Who's in charge of that?
well,
The board,
We'll
I mean,
help
the
you on
school
that.
board would have
School
to
board, yeah.
put
We-
form an account
Yeah.
to put that in, okay?
But we've been
we
working
can do
very
that. We
closely
can help you.
with these guys, and they're keeping us on track.
All right. Sounds good.
So then our recommendation, back to the thing, so our recommendation is to the board is that we would say alternate 1, 4, and 5. We recommend, and then alternate 2 and 3, we table it for now.
I think stressing that we're not opposed to it, we just wanna get further into the project.
Yeah, we don't wanna spend that money yet,
They're on pause, basically.
correct,
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
until we get further in to the project. Specifically, the corner.
What about the demo in Bird Island? When's that gonna take place?
Not until the summer of '26.
Well, are you talking building demo?
Yep, the
like
old
the
school
Building,
demo.
that's,
Restart building.
planned, I think, December, cause, so we have a timeline of they need to have the dance stuff done by, I think, October 1st.
Okay.
And it might be locker rooms and two, I'm trying to remember the timeline, we just printed it too. And then there was another timeline, the next milestone to hit, and then it was demo of the building to start in December,
Okay.
Of next year.
a year from now,
Okay.
a year. Yeah, not this December, no.
So most of
We have to
all,
get everything into the other building before we can demo that one,
I suppose, the heating and all that
Yep,
stuff has to be
everything's in
installed
the
before you
other-
take the.
in the part that's being demoed.
But there's probably not as much concern there because it only connects on a little bit, so you don't have as much concern on demo or fixing up what's left after that in Bird Island.
No, because
So-
they're two, it shows that it's two independent, like, walls there, so like, when it's being demoed, it's not, I mean, there's still gonna have to be some shoring, obviously, all that stuff. But then it is planned for metal panels on the exterior, so. it'll be
Already
all-
anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then it's building of a couple vestibules, which that roof that is needed in that is part of that allowance dollar amount that I had talked about previously.
Okay.
I got a quick question. With as bad a shape as these restrooms are in now, why were they not in the current?
Well, they were, but we had to pull a bunch of stuff out to get it down to,
Where we thought, referendum would pass.
Sorry, the Bird Island was in there, it's just that
It was,
it's not as large a scope.
they called it a facelift basically in Bird Island, right?
Well,
Not
no,
a
so
whole
Bird Island, the
originally.
existing bathrooms that are currently there, those are being remodeled.
Yep, I knew that.
You're getting.
This is gonna be to add to them, so you have more count
Okay.
of stalls.
But
So-
Olivia was not.
And then we'll have one sex on one side, one sex on the other side,
If
is the
that
plan.
works, yeah.
And then Olivia, from what I heard was, the plan was to use the new restrooms that would be on the south side of the gym and not use the north side as much. That's what I had heard at one point,
Well,
that's,
and
and then to
we
get
we had to
reference.
Or
scale
at all,
it
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
like, put everything in
Yeah,
there.
we were kind of
with
surprised.
hopes that we would be
Yeah, we were a
able to
little
add.
shocked.
That wasn't
We're all
in the scope.
surprised on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with that.
Does everyone here agree that we would make a recommendation to go ahead with alternates 1, which would be the main gym restrooms in Olivia? Alternate 4, which would be the Olivia concessions area remodeling, which will be a storage room. And alternate 5 would be the restroom expansion in Bird Island. That sound correct?
Yep.
So alternates 2 and 3, to just make sure our budget allows a little closer to the end. Jim, what, your thoughts on
yeah,
on that?
no, and I like that. I'm just trying to write down exactly what the
Sure.
wording's gonna be that we're gonna
Okay.
give to the board. I think what I'll have is, the recommendation will be to approve the addition of alternates 1, 4, and 5, and then I'll list those each out. I'm not gonna do that right now.
Sure.
And I'll list the dollar amounts.
I'll also have it in the letter, Jim.
Okay,
I think though too, just making sure that you clarify that we're not opposed to the other two, we don't need to cause any
Review
confusion.
Right.
We just wanna wait, like you said, pause.
And I think we need to make sure that this stays within accordance with these numbers. It doesn't get like, we need to kinda know where we're at and make sure those bids are still good.
Well,
For the-
oh, you mean the three
The
that we're
40
gonna move?
yes.
Yeah.
These will be
Yeah.
good. Those three numbers will be good.
Well,
if they go-
they're outside the 45-day window. now.
Right,
Oh,
so you have to
oh, that's
rebid
right.
out,
Yeah,
or
I forgot
just go
about that.
back and get
Yep.
an email or something.
Which, that would be my plan for tomorrow.
Yep.
I didn't wanna start contacting
Yep.
them before
Nope.
this meeting.
Will you
guys
contact them
have
all,
that information by next
Yeah.
week already?
just to see how long they'll hold it?
Yeah,
So we should
contact them
have
all.
that
and
by-
see
We're gonna add this to the board meeting. on
Contact
the
them all
12th.
and see if they're, how long.
How long they would hold, like
that.
the 2 and 3 that we're not doing?
I can guarantee they won't hold till next year.
Okay.
There's no way.
No.
We
Cause they
should
don't even know
assume
that.
if they have the manpower, you know, in a year. They don't know what how material costs will change and all that stuff. They will
Yeah,
not hold.
they won't.
I can
We don't wanna
guarantee
assume
it.
that.
So,
I can guarantee
You can
it. In
guarantee
20 plus
it.
years of construction, I can guarantee that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
That I would put my first loan on.
or they'd say, okay, but it'll go up 3-4%.
Yeah.
those three options are $364,296. Those three options. Do we want to turn around and say that as long as they're within 5% of that? Or do we want to put a thing on there to still recommend them, or
Caveat.
say we should do it and run?
I think we just, assuming that they're the same, leave it at that.
Okay.
I think so. And like Jackie said too, I know these alternates, every group has an important, some of these alternates are important, so just reiterate that we're not just picking and choosing, it's just the timeline of the construction is why we're doing this now.
Yep.
And just making sure that we don't have any
And I think-
unforeseen.
Jim's
Synergistically.
point To say that we're already gonna be tight here and then throwing a gym flooring and making it even worse is a valid point.
Yeah, 'cause that's when you get a monsoon of snow coming
Yep.
through and,
Put this thing, so.
yeah.
I also wanna
Recess is a
add
big
that
deal.
It might be smarter to wait on the June floor anyways, you know, not this summer, but following summer, cause of, the amount of scope happening this coming summer. Like waiting until the end might be smarter.
Preserve that.
Well, and I was glad you mentioned like doing it in the winter, you know, that would be definitely something we could look at doing. Because if we could do it over Christmas break or something, then we only have to relocate kids for 2 weeks or so.
Or if you've got a usable space like the wrestling area that you could, anything you're doing in the gym, you could change the activity to there.
Yeah,
Make it square dancing for the next month.
Or if it actually be
swimming,
nice outside
then
in
we
the winter,
just
they can go
swim in.
outside, yeah.
yeah.
Swimming,
Well, and they do
wrestling.
go outside.
Yeah.
If it's
I'm just saying
below
if it's
zero,
nice,
then
yeah.
they stay inside and you just, again, you never know.
We can worry about that, but.
But I think it's, the explanation could be that, you know, project synergies and construction synergies makes it important to make these decisions now. These other two are essentially not affected by the construction schedule, and we have a little bit more time to make sure we'll have the funds to cover these add-ons.
Sounds good, yeah. Where are we at with construction right now in Rhode Island? Are they wrapping up the gym?
I forgot about the update.
Yeah. We're not done. Almost done.
So, Good Pack 1, which was everything this summer, I mean, we're addressing punch list items right now, there is 11 that are still open. Bird Island is, staining this week.
It's already stained actually, they're buffing it this afternoon, I went over there and looked at it, with Sharp, I have pictures on my iPad, I can if you guys wanna see afterwards or something.
Yeah.
It looks good.
So striping starts.
Striping's gonna be starting this week, they're gonna be laying out lines, yeah, I mean, FLR's flying right now.
Usage
so-
begins, when can they get on it?
Like, get on the floor,
After striping is done, they can get on the floor. I think
There's
it's a couple days, they're supposed to wait.
I think the painting, cause I think they paint and then they buff it again, and then they do 2 more like layers of paint on, for the striping.
So all of it is supposed to be completed, the week before Thanksgiving it was. And then,
11/18 or something like that.
yep, and then it was gonna be doing the bleachers and the
The
curtains.
curtains.
Thanksgiving week and the following week, and then it was gonna be
Got it. Just
so.
curious.
How does that affect our basketball
Nope,
and
it's,
schedules?
it's done right before.
Okay,
I coordinated with,
It is a hard
Derek.
deadline.
Yep,
It's,
There was somewhat of a construction miracle that I think happened with timing and
Yeah.
everybody being able to move things here and there, being able to move the musical forward to beginning of October. Just things kind of clicked.
Well, it's gonna be great if we can go into the new sport, venues and they can start having this brand new so people can actually start seeing, oh my God, look what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Should there be a sign that says something about construction for the restrooms in that area will begin?
Yeah, we're not done.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
You can
In
even
process.
say Bird Island remodel starts summer '25.
It's actually a good
Future
idea.
phase.
Hang that on the
Yeah.
bathroom door.
I mean,
Something in that wing so
I
they
can
don't
get
realize
another
that
one
we're.
of these done for Bird Island, I just need to clean it up because Bird Island, they just really went this and this, not really broken
Well, I
up more,
think-
so
That'd be good.
I can clean it
But
up
I-
and then we
That'd be
can
good.
have
That could
a
be
sign
hung
there.
over there, so
Yep.
when people.
Or just
But I
something
think we
about
need to
watch
have
before
that-
Construction coming.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think we need to have these phase posters all over the place and communicate it, saying, here's our plan, because that's a lot of questions that I hear is, when's it gonna be done? How are we gonna do this? What's going
Can
on?
we put a QR code and they can just scan it and go to the website and read on their own? I mean,
Yeah,
if
you
they
know we
actually-
do those QR codes.
And a board right there that, like you said, just a board that said this construction will start next summer or
Yeah.
whenever, and
But put it on the wall, don't put it on a stand.
Not an easel. 'cause
We can,
All I'm saying is we need to over-communicate what we're doing.
yeah, could use that, the
Like the-
perforated window. Yeah,
Then you can showcase your talents with that too.
yeah, we could do that.
I didn't even hear on, okay.
So, just one caveat I wanna put on the whole Bird Island thing is the curtains. We're trying to get an answer from Monkey Wrench on curtains if they're gonna be installed at the end of this month. There's an issue with the curtains, like my two other schools I'm working on, they keep getting delayed because there's a back order on this material. So,
But the
first it was a
curtains, they don't
dye
affect anything right now. right?
No, no, I just wanted to I wanna make sure everybody knows that might not happen this month, but we are working with them trying to get that locked in deep. So upcoming work, permit update. We have received the permit for bid pack 3, which is a building envelope, so that's the exterior of the pool wall, the interior of the pool wall, and then the window change out down here on the south end. That permit has been approved. They actually started today with mobilization for the exterior of the walls. For the pool area, you'll see actual work happening, was it tomorrow or Wednesday that he was going to?
He said he might even begin tomorrow. He's mobilizing today, trying to get things together. But he said he might start on what would be the southwest corner of the pool where you can kind of see where the bricks were falling out there. He's gonna start on there, kind of toothing it, getting it ready to add brick back to it. So,
So are they actually taking off all of the brick and replacing it with brick again, or what's the plan?
The southeast side, they're gonna take out a big chunk of brick just because they've been cracking and stuff. Over on the southwest side, they're able to tooth it in and it should be good. And then they're adding control joints and a drip edge along the bottoms.
Has the pool been in operation again? I haven't even,
Yeah.
okay, so it has been working, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna end up having to drain it when we do the inside work here again, but
Yep, and that work is right now tentatively planned for mid-December, probably be 2.5 months with now draining and refilling the pool. We have a meeting we're trying to set up for the 15th of November to walk with the contractors to kind of just go through the scope, make sure everybody understands the scope, and just make sure we're all aligned on the 15th, because when we're in that pool area, we wanna do some stuff that's part of bid pack 2, which is replacement of the exterior doors around the pool, so then we're only interrupting the pool once. And the locker room area, which is also part of bid pack 2, we wanna do that the same time we're doing this pool area, so again, we're only interrupting the pool
in and
area.
out. Once we're done with it, we're done with it.
The only part that we would be interrupting again later is that hallway on the north side, because we're gonna be adding kind of like a vestibule on the east side.
Where the storage laundry room is
Yeah.
over there.
I don't wanna tackle all that with all the other remodel stuff, because there's
There's
doors,
demolition.
windows, a whole bunch of stuff, so. Bid pack 2, we got comments, we're working on resubmitting, we're waiting on just one last comment, and we need something from the recast panel contractor, so once we receive that, we will be able to resubmit. He said he was gonna get that to me early this week, so I'm hoping, didn't come today, so tomorrow or Wednesday hopefully, and we can get that resubmitted. to the city. I'm hoping that we could have comments back quickly, but you never know with the state. We're at their mercy. They put schools towards the front, but as you guys saw, some trees were cut down, so we're starting the work. We're starting to do stuff, but we're not gonna start doing footings or any of that stuff until we actually have a permit, because there's no need to start digging up footings and have a hole in the ground if we don't know when we can put the concrete. The good news though with this precast place is their timing for panels is half the time as like their competitors, so right now, even with the permit being delayed, I think we're still sitting really good.
Couple questions back on the pool. I think all the ventilation and that stuff got redone right after that little fire thing, or is that in your scope? Where are we at with the fixing? Just to make sure that everyone's comfortable that that's done properly now before we do anything that.
There's a new boiler going in, I know that for a fact.
They cleaned everything. I don't think
Yeah, I
they,
don't,
Yeah.
there was nothing that was replaced.
Okay.
It's all existing ductwork that's staying in there.
whatever happened to the cover? Did they decide to cover it? No cover?
Well, so we've got $50,000 set aside for a cover.
40,000, I think it is, there's
40?
an
That still
allowance
hasn't
for
been
it, yeah.
decided if.
There's an allowance, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but then half of that would be the city's responsibility. Did you see my email today?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. What you mentioned in,
No, so the city is giving 1.5, so that's a 7, like, not even 1.5, that's a 740, whatever. The pool allowance is set aside, they're not giving another 40 on top of that. So that's the amount for the pool cover that they set aside, the allowance. I'm
okay,
assuming that's enough for it that they set
right,
aside.
but we would pay half of that and the city would pay half, right?
Nope, the
Already paid.
40,000 would be for the whole thing. So what we get put in for the pool, or what the city is at 742,000
Mhm.
something. So technically, if the bids, I would have to break out all the bids to see where they're at. Maybe the bids are only at, I'm just gonna throw out a number here, 1.2. Then that pool cover could be in that cost.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right, and you'd mentioned the drains. You said that when we drain the pool, the school would probably want to replace the drains.
Yep, so when we were in there, Tracy and Denny were talking about the pool drains and that they're at the end of their life. And so that they wanted to, since it's drained, replace them, perfect time to replace them. And he said he was gonna coordinate somebody to do it, but he was gonna do it while we were in there.
Okay.
Now, again, that could be, we could see if that could be something that the referendum cost covers, use a contingency if you guys want.
Underneath there.
I don't wanna be willy-nilly with, just handing out,
Right.
here, let's use that, but it is something that,
Underneath there's that liner. Are they gonna replace that? Cause I think that's still there from existence when they put it in. There's a big white liner thing underneath. If you go underneath the tunnel, there's a liner under the pool.
that is not in the scope and I do not know anything about this.
Yeah, I
You can
think,
go
I think they
underneath
call it a liner. You can go under the pool, you go down the thing, go
Is
under
it
the
in
pool.
that one
There's a
room?
tunnel down underneath there. And it goes, it's back there, but the original one is still there, and I think it was gonna cost like $50,000 to replace that. And I
But
don't know if
like
it's a
not
liner
like-
or what they call it, but it's a big white, I don't know, ask Tracy.
Okay.
Does
She'll
it
tell
need
you.
to be replaced? Is it bad?
It's never, well, it's not in very good shape, but it's been there since day one. They've never replaced it.
Where's this tunnel?
Oh, you ask
Well,
her,
it's-
she'll take you down there.
Yeah,
It's
you can
really-
walk all the
Is it
way
that-
down.
Is it in that one room that, like, where the fire started?
Yeah, you
Down
go
there?
down to the
Okay.
fire
Go
room.
down, and then there's a tunnel all the way around the bottom of it. You have to go down there.
I'm going to now.
Yeah. Tell her to take you to the tunnel.
Well, that, and then if you could just verify, maybe if you don't mind just dropping us an email, just to let us know what they're doing with the ventilation or what the plan
I'm
is for
gonna look at it right
ventilation.
now quickly.
I'm looking at it too.
And then,
I thought that was gonna be updated.
and is there anything around, I can't remember, kids park up along the wall yet, right?
No,
That's
Not-
changed
yeah,
now?
that's all.
yeah, it's
Like,
away.
that's all road now?
The handicap is up in the corner by the gym and the pool, or
Okay.
that corner.
Is that wall
northwest
protected
corner
from
of the parking
vehicles,
lot.
so no
Yeah.
one could slide into it or run into the wall?
There's a
Corners should be
sidewalk.
protected a little bit.
There's what?
There's a sidewalk
There's a
now.
sidewalk on
Mhm.
both
Along that side?
sides.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's a tall sidewalk
Yeah,
too.
you're,
Okay.
Just waiting for an.
So on that wall, the whole wall,
I just can't remember. remember. I
The
thought I
brick
remember
does
years
not
ago
have to be
kids would, like,
replaced?
Run into the wall, but where that was.
On the, so the southeast corner, they're
They
replacing
could
like
on
the
the
whole
west
corner,
Yeah.
basically, just because of all the cracking is
So
going.
maybe
But on the
Like the sidewalks on
southwest
the whole
corner,
east
they don't
side.
have to
No.
replace
There
the
is,
whole
but-
thing.
What about the north wall?
But so.
The
Or
north
the east
wall-
wall?
Pool is the south side.
The one that's-
The
This
east
is
wall, there's
big-
just some
big
like
sidewalk,
fixing
and I wouldn't
of,
be worried at all
some
here,
joints
but
or not,
right
you know,
here,
bricks
it
that
levels
can't be
To me, it
off.
seems like
to-
that wall
to
bows
the
out.
asphalt. And so,
Crack.
yeah,
Oh,
somebody,
that's where people
somebody,
park.
I mean, we can look at it
yeah,
again.
like Kinger
Well,
usually parks.
To me, it looked like it bowed out. It's
Right
like, I
here.
would not park my vehicle here.
I mean, the guy walked it today, he didn't
Got it.
mention anything except
Just-
that whole drip edge is gonna go
do
in
it.
down.
Did they not
Put
put a
a-
camera
I'll
behind
mention
it to make sure the
both sides.
fasteners were good to?
I mean,
Well,
I
we're
used
gonna
to
be
see
tearing
someone, it's
into
like,
the
that would
wall
suck
from the
to do the
inside.
brick wall and have a carpet.
As we're removing it, we're gonna be adding insulation in there, the whole 9 yards, and then
Okay.
rebuilding the wall back on the inside. And I think there's paper barrier being added in there.
Well, as long as the brick don't fall down. Or, to me, it
Let's
looked,
hope that doesn't happen.
it looked very, did not look good to me.
No,
The metal tabs that hold the brick on the outside, is that what you're?
Well, I don't
talking
know about that, but that outside wall looked like it bowed out and there's a major crack going right through.
So I know in that room that's under the stage, there is an air handler there that's being replaced. There's 2 air handlers down there that are being replaced. But those don't look like they feed the pool. This one does.
I thought that was the pool stuff was on.
Yep, one of them does, it does look like, so one of those air handlers down there does feed the pool.
Okay.
and that's being replaced.
Yep,
I would think so, 'cause the one we had-
now,
The-
those are long lead time items, so is that happening this summer? I don't know, we have a pool planning meeting in, the end of this month we're gonna do pool planning that's basically creating the schedule with all the contractors. And that it's gonna be done by the phases, so in a couple weeks, we're gonna be doing the red area. And then we'll be setting up another one to go into, the next area, and so forth. Just because it's such a big project, we're kind of breaking it out.
So, if I understand correctly then, so the pool project, for lack of a better, was 1.4 million. City gave their 700,000, we have 700,000 of the project, but all that, the city paid the project, so essentially that's into our pool of funds? Is that how that works, or do they gotta cut a check and we gotta cut a check? On individual
Ryan
contract?
might know that one, I believe Ryan, this money that the city was contributing, has that been received from the city?
I've not been part of those discussions. I was only involved with the bond, so
Okay,
I don't know that.
And I'm not sure.
I'm not
Well,
sure either,
'cause
but
that-
I thought it has been received, but I could be totally wrong.
I'm just asking the question because I think as we start letting these contracts and things like that, we just wanna make sure that it's like, be kinda confusing if it's like, okay, well, here's our check and here's your check, and you'd think it would all come into one pool and then controlled out of one contract.
So that's it, so how it's set up on that cost segregation sheet, Jim, is we do have like a city funded one and then the referendum. So it is, that's why I believe that it has been received, because basically, so if it has to do with the billing, the billing for the pool, it would go under that city one, but it's still one check that goes out. It just, that it gets pulled from that cost funding,
Sure.
if that makes sense. But I'm pretty sure it has been received.
Okay. I don't remember seeing it, so.
I definitely never saw it. But I can ask my people, see if they know about it.
So if you could check a little extra on the ventilation, just because that's such an important part of that pool,
Mhm.
that we're not just replacing what's there. I mean, if we're doing that, is that sufficient?
The air handler's being replaced, it's the ductwork that's staying in place.
Okay, but I mean,
So
was that
that's
ever
being-
sufficient when it was originally there? Are we just replacing what is there? I mean, was the air quality so bad in the pool because that system hasn't worked or wasn't working? Or was it just not a good system to start with that we should look at? Just to make sure the ventilation is proper for
Well,
the
with the
pool.
new air handler, I mean, the ventilation would be better in there. Are you saying like making sure the ductwork is accurate and?
Well, just the ventilation for the whole thing, so I mean, if we're just replacing what was there,
You're getting a whole new air handler.
And
unit.
it- is
larger
gonna be adequate
size,
to
same
handle that?
CFM, same.
I would have to check.
Cause I mean, if
I'd
it's
have to
just,
dig
if we're
into
just replacing what was there, that wasn't
And that
sufficient,
wasn't
whatever.
adequate.
Right, it wasn't adequate,
What we
whatever
gained.
was there. So if.
Well, it wasn't
that-
adequate as it was.
What wasn't
Yeah,
working.
maybe it wasn't working,
Yeah,
maybe it
yeah,
wasn't,
yeah.
but I don't know.
I
That
think
might
the
be a
biggest
big
thing is
cut.
we just need to confirm the design is proper.
Right.
And I'm assuming somebody did that, but
I'm assuming so
you know
as
what they
well.
say about assume.
Yeah,
Yep,
She does.
never assume.
What do they say about that?
Never assume anything.
Ass out of you and
you
me.
guys rely.
Really? I didn't say that, fine, sorry.
I will check on that.
Alright. It just,
Yeah.
Yeah, we just wanna
The
make sure that we're putting the
corrosiveness,
right
yeah.
thing, yeah.
Don't want-
I mean, you'd like to think was initially designed, it was all correct, and then over the years, if the air handler went to heck, that was causing the issue. And everything else should be okay if we upgrade the air handler again.
very good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nicole, do we have anything else that is on the list right now that they're working on? Or are you through your current?
I think that is all of my updates, unless you guys have some questions on anything with the construction schedule.
Not really.
That's all I have.
But no, we should have more meetings going forward, rather than 3 months or 4 months apart. We should have
What is our?
possibly a monthly meeting, like this. We have updates.
Sounds wonderful.
Please?
That's fine. I mean, we do have, we have weekly meetings with the contractors, it's during the day though, I know everybody has a job, it's a lot more difficult, if you guys ever wanna stop in for that, you can, you're more than welcome to, and stuff, we're gonna, are they Wednesdays?
With the project managers?
It used to be.
Yeah.
The weekly meeting,
Mm-hmm.
yep, I think it's Wednesday 10 to 11, I had to confirm that, but if you guys are ever interested, I mean, it's at the job trailer. It's with all the contractors that are working, or if their work is within the next 2 weeks, they'll be in there and we go through schedule, we just talk through a whole bunch of stuff, so. You guys are more than welcome to come if you ever want to.
Do you have minutes that come out of that?
Yeah.
meeting?
Yep.
Can those be sent out to this group?
Probably. Cause you guys are all on Procore, right? Didn't everybody get
We're
on
all-
it? You
we're
guys
all-
are on it, but you haven't
Right.
gone in it.
Right. It'd be if there's any way to, even if you have to print it, scan it, send it back out, whatever is the easiest would be. What is our regular facilities meeting schedule? I mean, what was the intent of the facilities meeting schedule? Was it quarterly, monthly? What is our?
I don't know, we never really talked about that.
I mean, I'd agree if we do a monthly meeting and even if a couple people can make it, I think it's great that.
Or you could have it, Zoom too if you want, if you wanna do, if somebody can't actually be here, they could Zoom it too.
Well,
Especially now since
and we
there's so
would
much
record
going on.
it, so if somebody couldn't be there, they can always. That might be the easiest way to do it.
Monday's good for everyone? I mean, if we always stick with a Monday evening or Monday 5, what's your
Yeah.
schedules?
Yeah, yeah, I can do Mondays.
Especially once we get going on the main project, have updates. If there's some concerns or something, we got.
So the first Monday of the month, each month?
Monday at
That
what
work?
time?
First Monday of the
Works
month,
for
that's
these guys.
Well, we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
okay.
Because it's probably different if we do a Zoom or a Google Hangout or whatever.
All right, we'll email and come up with something.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think we've made a recommendation on the main point of the meeting tonight for the alternate projects. If nobody has anything else, we'll adjourn. Good.
You have
Very good.
pictures of the floor?